Hello everyone. Welcome to Unit 5 of Week 3 discussion. In this unit, we will be focusing on projects, and at the end of the unit, you will be able to explore methods of formative assessment during projects. Let us first try to understand that why projects are important for engineering education. Firstly, and the most important reason is it helps our students apply the theoretical knowledge, as project lets students to apply the concepts learned during the lectures to real world problems, and it also helps to bridge the gap between classroom theory and practical engineering solutions. Secondly, it also helps our students to inculcate the skills of problem solving and critical thinking, as it encourages analysis, reasoning, and decision making. Students learn to define problems, evaluate alternatives, and then implement the solutions. Thirdly, the ability to be innovative, also be creative. So, projects basically provide space for original ideas and innovative solutions, as it encourages experimentation, prototyping, and creative engineering design. Fourthly, teamwork and collaboration. So, most projects in engineering education involves group work, and it helps students to develop communication, leadership, and coordination skills, and it prepares our students for real world interdisciplinary teams. The fifth reason is probably projects help in self regulated learning, because projects are generally given for longer duration. They foster the skill of planning, time management, and self directed learning. Students are also able to reflect on their progress, the kind of challenges they are facing, and also the learning strategies. So, all of this, if you can recall, this is all part of assessment as learning, the self assessment aspect. The fifth is projects prepares our students for industry and research, as project simulate real engineering scenarios, preparing students for industry and research roles. Also, project encourages innovation, the skill of documentation, the skill of presentation, and all these skills are very much required in a real professional environment. Now that we understand that why and how projects are important, let us try to understand that what are some of the common challenges that we face when we give these projects to our students. So, firstly, lack of clarity in project objectives. So, it might happen that students are unsure about the scope, the expected outcomes, and also the problem requirements. Probably they are facing difficulty in unpacking the project objectives. Secondly, difficulty in applying theoretical knowledge. So, they might understand the concept very well, but probably they are struggling to translate the concepts from the lectures to real world engineering solution. Third is poor planning and time management. Since the projects are given for a longer duration, it might happen that students are starting too late and then they are skipping some steps and then also mismanaging the deadlines. Fourthly, technical errors or misconception. So, it might happen that there are certain misunderstandings in the calculations or the algorithms or the design principles, and finally, students are continuing with all of these misconceptions, and towards the end, they basically get some flawed outputs. So, is there a way to correct it, or is there a way to give some early feedback to these students to avoid such errors? Fifth is limited collaboration or uneven team participation. So, we have always observed that some team members will dominate the other team members, while we have also observed that some team members will contribute very little. Inadequate communication skills. So, along with the project, to ensure the reliability in assessment, we often include a component of presentation, a component of reporting. So, probably students have completed the project, they are able to design the prototype, but probably they are facing difficulty in developing the report, presentation, documentation. probably these aspects are not so clear to the student. A low engagement or motivation, students actually view the project as a task. Most of the time, they will consider project as a task and assignment, and they will miss out that learning opportunity. So, uh, how about students are doing such projects in a very very motivated environment where they are aware that how this particular project will help them learn better, or how this can be considered as a learning opportunity. Lastly, challenges in critical thinking and problem solving. So, probably students may struggle in analyzing the results or identify the alternatives or also justify certain decisions. So, basically, the ability to think critically, problem solving, these are all part of HOTS, the higher order thinking skills. So, it might happen that student, though understands a concept but fails to apply them, to analyze them, evaluate them, or to use at a create level. So, these challenges I'm sure you must have observed while you give projects to your students. Okay. So, considering these challenges, now how do we use the power of formative assessments to eliminate or overcome these challenges? Okay. So, let us try to see that how formative assessment can be helpful, and we can also take a few examples. So, for example, if the first challenge is lack of clarity in project objectives, so probably in that case, formative assessment can help us in providing early feedback on proposals or the problem statements. So, how can intervention be made by the faculty member? Probably the instructor reviews the initial project plan and suggests some refinements. If the student is facing difficulty in applying theoretical knowledge, um, formative assessment can give iterative feedback on methods and technical steps. And how can a faculty intervene? Probably review checkpoint reports to ensure correct use of algorithms or formulas. So, in each of these, you are seeing that how early feedback helps to make the corrections at the right stage. Suppose if the student is facing the challenge of poor planning and time management, so formative assessment probably might help to track progress through milestones and intermediate submissions. So, we are not waiting till the end. Instead, there are certain intermediate submissions planned in the form of a weekly progress report or short status presentations. Fourthly, if suppose there are certain technical errors or misconception, so formative assessment might help us to identify the errors early before submission. And how will an instructor help? Probably the instructor can review the calculations or the simulations or the design so that such technical errors can be overcome. The fifth is, say, there is a minimum collaboration in the team members. So, in that case, formative assessment can encourage structured peer evaluation and accountability. So, we might use peer feedback forms. We can actually try the process of peer assessment so that all the team members are equally contributing to the project. If suppose students are facing difficulty in communication skill, probably instructor might provide guidance on report writing and presentation style. And some of the example can be some drafts can be reviewed by the instructor, given some feedback. Presentations rehearsals can be organized. And also a rubric can be provided and the feedback can be given through a rubric, so that student is aware that probably I am in level 2 now and what needs to be done if I want to level 3. If there is a low engagement or motivation, probably student is not even aware that why am I doing this project, and probably the student is considering it as a task, then the formative assessment will keep the students involved through checkpoints and active learning. So, how can we help in encouraging students or making them engaged or making them more motivated. Probably some in-class discussions can be conducted, certain quizzes can be conducted, some mini presentations or some progress art can be shared. Lastly, if suppose student is struggling with higher order thinking skills of critical thinking and problem solving, formative assessment offers feedback on reasoning, alternatives and interpretation, and the feedback can be given in intermediate stages, and also the uh, instructor can help the student to propose the design choices and the reason behind those design choices. So here are certain examples that if you are facing these challenges, how does formative assessment can be helpful, and certain examples of intervention. But these interventions are not limited to this list. There can be many other approaches that can be planned. So when we are planning the projects, during that time only these formative assessments should be planned. Okay. I will try to discuss a systematic manner, a systematic way to design and facilitate projects so that the aspect of formative assessment can be very well be integrated in this process. So, for example, the first step can be to identify the course outcomes and also map these course outcomes to the program outcomes so that we are aware that through this project, what are we trying to assess? What kind of course outcomes are we trying to assess? The second step is to develop project guidelines and the nature of deliverables that are required, identify the assessment components and also develop rubrics. So when we are saying assessment components, it is a combination of formative assessment as well as summative assessment, because projects especially gives us a opportunity to integrate all three approaches of assessment: assessment of learning, assessment for learning, and assessment as learning, in a very beautiful manner, because projects generally are conducted for a longer duration and there is a scope of providing feedback, enabling students to self-assess and then try to conduct assessment of learning, that is a summative assessment at the end. Step 3 is monitoring progress and providing feedback through formative assessment. And step 4 is final submission and evaluation. So this is mostly as part of summative assessment. So these are the 4 steps, and we will try to see through an example that how these 4 steps can be applied to plan the projects in a better and in a systematic manner. For example, let me take a very generic kind of a project so that all of you will be able to engage with this example. So, for example, the project title is Satellite Image Based Detection of Urban Sprawl and Environmental Change. Okay. So, what are the course outcomes related to this particular project? What are the course outcomes that will be assessed through this project? The first one is interpret the satellite imagery to identify the land use and land cover changes. Now, you can see that these kind of projects probably students will find very, very meaningful, very relevant, because these kind of projects are really contextual to the students. The second course outcome is apply basic image processing and data analysis techniques to extract meaningful information. The third course outcome is analyze spatial changes to draw conclusions about urban growth and environmental impact. The fourth course outcome is communicate findings using maps, visuals, and concise technical explanation. Now, from this particular list of course outcome, it is very clear that this project is interdisciplinary in nature. There is certain component of probably image processing is coming. There are certain engineering mathematics is coming in. There is environmental engineering aspect is also coming, and then a very generic kind of a course outcome, the fourth course outcome, probably it is common across all the courses. So it is always advisable to give interdisciplinary kind of projects, because all our real world problems are interdisciplinary in nature. So if we want our students to feel motivated, stay more engaged, probably we should try to select the projects that are more interdisciplinary in nature. Now, what are the kind of program outcomes this kind of a project can help us in assessing? For example, PO1, which is related to engineering knowledge, PO2, problem analysis, PO3, design or development of solutions, PO4, investigation, PO5, modern tool usage, PO6, engineer and society, PO7, environment and sustainability, PO9, individual and teamwork, PO10, communication, and PO12, lifelong learning. Now you can see that using one project which is interdisciplinary in nature, we can actually address so many program outcomes such in a very effective manner. And you can see that from this COPO mapping table, which is one of the mandate from NBA, you can see that the table is very well populated, right? So we have 4 course outcomes, and these 4 course outcomes are actually assessing several program outcomes. And such kind of understanding also helps us to understand that if we are giving this kind of a project, how this kind of a project is ensuring the design down process of the program outcomes to the course outcomes and then to the assessments. Now for the same project, the instructor also need to share the project guidelines in a very systematic manner, because if we just give the title of the project, probably students will struggle in understanding the project expectation. So a very systematic set of guidelines need to be generated. So it reads as detect urban sprawl, deforestation and other geographical or environmental changes over a specified time frame. Okay, so that is the first thing that they need to do. Compare changes in different regions or cities using freely available satellite data sets. And again, certain examples are given. Perform basic image classification and change detection. You can use supervised or unsupervised algorithms, and then prepare a summary report with visualization and interpretation. So the guidelines are clearly communicating the expectation from the projects. Okay. Now coming to the deliverables, that how do we now plan this project? Say this project is for 3 weeks duration. Okay. So generally all the projects are for long duration, and as far as formative assessments are concerned, it is important that we keep providing feedback to the students in these 3 weeks duration. It shouldn't happen that we are giving the project, we are actually sharing the project guideline, and then we are meeting our students after 3 weeks. So in such a scenario, it might happen that sometimes there are certain misconceptions, students are struggling, probably we are not able to give the feedback at the right time. Okay, so along with the project guideline, we should also try to prepare a very a chart which basically tells us that what are some of the deliverables across these 3 weeks. So in week 1 and 2, probably students are required to prepare a project proposal. So what they need to do? They need to define the study area. They need to define the objectives. What are the data sets they are using? What are the tools they are using, and what kind of methodology they are planning to use? Now you can see that this is all related to planning. So if they are able to prepare a project proposal with all these details, which means they have spent good amount of time in planning and they are more prepared. So when students are coming up with this project proposal, and when we are meeting the students, we are not grading them based on this proposal. Instead, we are giving some feedback, right? And this is one of the important aspect of formative assessment. So we are just giving informal feedback so that if there are certain gaps in the way they have identified the data set or in the methodology, those kind of feedbacks can be given. Then in the week 2 and 3, one interim report need to be prepared, okay, based on the data exploration. So basically, they try to do some initial analysis, okay. Some pre-processing steps are also done. They have also identified the classification method, okay. Again, they are coming up with this report which has the earlier project proposal part and also the data exploration aspect. And based on this, we are again giving some formative feedback. As far as week 3 is concerned, which is a very heavy week, they need to map the prototype and also visualize. So in this case, what are they basically supposed to do? They basically say that these are some preliminary changes, detection maps, charts and graphs. Okay. Again, we give them some formative feedback on the prototype. Okay. Then comes the final report in week 3. And in week 3, along with the final report, they also have to make a presentation. So we are using multiple methods of assessment. Okay, a project is there, then there is a report, and then there is a presentation. So multiple methods of assessment basically ensures reliability and validity in assessment. So as far as week 3 is concerned, they have to do a comprehensive analysis, discussion of the results, implication for urban planning and environment. So basically, this is all related to sustainability. Probably in such kind of a project, students will be more engaged and they will feel more motivated. Okay. Based on the final report, we are also giving them a grade, right, which is summative in nature. So at the end of week 3, we are actually assessing students in a more summative manner. And along with the final report, there can be a presentation or a demo. So there can be oral presentation with some visuals and question answer. Again, this can be graded. And while a student is working on the project right from week 1 to week 3, we can also ask them to develop some kind of a reflective journal. Okay. So probably this journal will help them document the learning process. If they have faced any challenges, they will record it. It can be also related to the challenges related to working in a team and how they have actually encountered those challenges. What are the problem solving steps they have used? So all these can be documented. Again, this is not a graded kind of assessment. This is basically assessment as learning, where student is reflecting on their learning journey and based on this reflection also making certain course correction, also strategizing that if things are not going as per the plan, what needs to change. So such reflective journal also makes a student more aware about their learning. So you can see that if we are having project guidelines, okay, and then along with that, if we have a set of project deliverables, this gives us a good understanding that from week 1 to week 5, how the student needs to progress and what are some of the scope for giving interim feedback. Okay. Also, when we are talking about summative assessment, which is coming at the end, we need to identify that if we are talking about, say, report, or we are talking about a presentation or a demo, what are some of the assessment components? How do we understand that it is a good quality report, or how do we understand that it is a good quality presentation or a demo? So those kind of aspects also need to be defined and also specified, that probably the technical quality, how accurate it is, the correctness of the prototype, problem solving and innovation. So when the students have, what kind of approach they have used, documentation, presentation and communication. So when we are talking about presentation and communication, it is not only based on the slides or the PPT that the student has used. Instead, the ability to explain the methods, the results and their implications. So all these aspects, if it is specified in the very beginning that your presentations will be assessed through these aspects, then probably students can come more prepared instead of spending lot of time in making a very beautiful PowerPoint presentation. Probably they will be able to focus on more important skills, like are they able to explain the method, are they able to explain the results, are they also able to describe the implications. Similarly, teamwork and collaboration. Now, since it is a group work, and probably there are presentations that are happening in group, there are reports that are written in a group manner. So, the contribution to group work, how have you interacted with your peers? Then the reflection and learning process, self-assessment, lessons learned, and continuous improvement. Of course, this is not graded, but other aspects are graded. Now, again, this kind of a brainstorming might help us to understand that what are some of the focus areas of assessment in this project, and it will also help us to communicate these expectations to the students. So, this kind of approach, when we are saying that these are different aspects, so basically it is helping me ensure that I am conducting all three approaches of assessment: of learning, for learning, and as learning. We are also very clear about the purpose of each of these assessments, and we are also clear about the nature of these assessments. Formative assessments, for example, cannot be graded, while summative assessments has to be graded. And then we also have some examples, right? So, if we are talking about final report, we are talking about prototype, presentation, or technical documentation, we are basically talking about assessment of learning, which is summative in nature. If you are talking about progress reviews, feedback on proposals, peer discussions, or checkpoint reports, we are basically talking about assessment for learning. And when we are talking about reflective journals or self-assessment or peer evaluation, we are basically talking about assessment as learning, which is again formative in nature and non-graded. Now, through this process of identifying the assessment component, we are able to understand that if we are focusing on all three approaches of assessment, and now we understand that if we are focusing on all three approaches of assessment, probably we are able to facilitate our students' learning in a better manner. Along with this assessment components, along with project guidelines and the information related to deliverables, we should also try to develop some kind of a rubric. Now, we will try to discuss a sample rubric for formative assessment. And in this sample rubric, we have discussed certain deliverables for every week. And we have also seen that what kind of arrangements should be made for giving formative feedback. So, we are aware about the deliverables, we are also aware about the criteria. What we need to do is, we need to define the description of different levels for every criteria. So, for every criteria, student can be at an emerging level, student can be at a developing level or proficient level. So, we need to clearly define the description, and then probably we can use this for giving feedback to the student, or also if this is shared to the student, students can actually self-assess themselves. For example, if the first criteria is, so in the week 1, when they are coming with their problem framing and objectives, probably they are at a proficient level when the objective is clear, focused, and also feasible in nature, and it is aligned to the project. Now, this is a very good description of proficient level. However, emerging objectives are unclear or too broad, which means this is a feedback for the student that probably you need to make your objectives more specific and more clear. Similarly, the second criteria is dataset selection and understanding. Now, again in the week 2, when they are coming to you with certain data sets, basically this kind of a planning is made in the first week itself. You will see that now the student is at proficient level if the data set is well chosen with clear understanding of resolution, time period, and the limits. However, student is at the emerging level if the data set choice is inappropriate or unexplained. randomly student has selected a data set, probably not aware that why have I selected this data set. The why is not so clear. Okay, so basically, as far as formative assessment is concerned, our focus should be to help students to justify their design choices, so that students also understand that we cannot select a data set randomly. Instead, there should be certain evidences, there should be some justification based on the choice of data. Methodology and approach, here also we can have proficient level if the methodology is logical, systematic approach is followed along with a rational. The fourth aspect is application of core concepts. So this is happening in the week 2. So all sort of planning related to problem framing and objectives, data set selection, methodology, this is all done in week 1. So here we are clearly defining that what kind of focus will be there as far as formative assessment is concerned. And in the week 2, when they have actually started working on the project, so if they are able to apply the concepts or not. So when they will be at a proficient level, probably when correct and meaningful application of core concepts are happening. And if not, then probably there are certain misconceptions, and as faculty members, we need to address those misconceptions. Similarly, how well they are managing the time. Is it that they are already in week 2 and they have still not defined their project objectives? So in this case, probably the instructor can help us improve their planning and pacing based on the deliverables. Probably instructor can have a discussion related to the deliverables, related to the guidelines with the students. Then comes team collaboration. Probably again one student is contributing more than another student, or one student has a very limited contribution. So how do we actually communicate them that in a group project, all the students need to effectively collaborate and they also need to have some kind of a role clarity. So again, this kind of a discussion can be made by the instructor. Interpretation of results. So it might happen that they have defined the problem, they have actually also analyzed the data set, but they are not able to interpret the result. So in this case, probably the instructor might help to inculcate the skill of reasoning. And also, while in this process, the instructor is making an attempt to provide feedback, it is also for the student to use this feedback. So whatever feedback is given in unit 1 and whatever feedback is given in unit 2, a student is at a proficient level if the feedback is thoughtfully integrated in the project. So basically, this is all happening through self-assessment when the student is basically maintaining a reflective journal. So in the reflective journal, it is basically being noted very carefully that in the week 1, when the project objectives were discussed, this kind of the feedback was given, and then we have made these kind of changes. So this kind of a journal will basically help students understand that how effectively they are using the feedback, how reflectively they are using the feedback. So with this, we have completed the discussion on formative assessment for projects. I hope this discussion will help you design a project well, plan a project well, and also conduct good quality formative assessments while students are doing projects.